Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where the topic is Aligning Work Execution with Corporate Strategy in Microsoft Teams. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleagues Jim Patterson and Paul Estabrooks. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit any questions that you may have. I will address these during the webinar and will respond via email if we do not get to your specific question. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I'll be emailing a link to the presentation once it has been posted on our YouTube channel. Thank you again, and I will now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for spending time out of your valuable day with us. My name is Jim Patterson, and this is a very timely topic for us. It's also something that's a current trend that we're seeing in the marketplace about having more focus and alignment on corporate strategy and as it relates to portfolio management. And today we're going to talk specifically about how that stuff can be actuated and executed on within Microsoft Teams, a very popular collaborative platform today that's taken the world by storm. So with that, let's get started. We're talking about this topic today because we are a very well-recognized Microsoft partner. We have multiple gold certifications, but a particular emphasis in project and portfolio management, the disciplines of which are at the core of our topic today, regardless of whether they're more traditional waterfall type of methodologies, more scaled agile type of approaches, and all the disciplines and processes and cultural things around that. We help organizations work in those areas. We were recently named again Microsoft's Project and Portfolio Management Partner of the Year. We've done that multiple times, and we just don't focus on the technology. We help people realize the outcomes that they want to focus on the people, process, and the technology aspects. And we have a particular expertise in solutions actuated in the Microsoft cloud, though we do help people connect and integrate with other non-Microsoft technologies. So with that, let's talk about what's driving the need for this topic today. I know sometimes the term digital transformation is used and maybe overused, but it is driving so much of what we're doing today. You know, some more early on type of examples of whether or not organizations are disrupted by this digital trend. You can look at travel, video rentals, music industry, newspapers, bookstores, department stores, and the way we consume things out of those different markets has changed to become more digital over time. And people that didn't react to that well or in a timely fashion became dinosaurs, you know, AKA the blockbusters of the world. The idea is it's not, you know, whether or not we're going to be disrupted by this, it's when we're going to be disrupted, how we're going to be disrupted, and to what degree we're going to be disrupted. It's inevitable in our industries that this is going to happen. Traditional brick and mortar businesses are no longer just traditionally brick and mortar. The way they reach their customers and have different modes of doing business and to be able to monetize that business has become much, much more digital over time. On top of that, because we have this race to become more digital and find new ways to reach our customers and go to market, the speed and the pace of change continues to accelerate, meaning we have to not only respond, we have to respond quickly, and we have to respond effectively with good decisions based upon good information and things that are relevant to the businesses that we're in. So there is disruption ahead. And if this last couple of years of pandemic hasn't really highlighted that case, that disruption is going to occur. And when it occurs, it's going to be unexpected. And the degree of which it hits us can't be planned ahead. We need to be, let's just say, equipped as organizations to be able to respond when these disruptions, unexpected or not, occur. So to do that, organizations have really, it started before the pandemic, obviously, but more and more over time, there are other drivers that are forcing us to become more agile. What we call the shift to the left here, moving left in a graph like this to become more iterative, deliver things in more smaller increments, potentially invest in things incrementally and deliver more commensurate with when we invest in those things, and really continuously deliver value over time, as opposed to the traditional old approach of where we'd have long duration projects with big bang deliveries and value at the end, and invest, and have a deferred benefit from the investment from when we actually initiated those efforts. So the key is that we're moving here even faster, and more organizations are going there. And a lot of the surveys and studies being done by the analysts like Gartner and Forrester and such have found that we were on a trend to do more agile in organizations, but that accelerated greatly during the pandemic when more broad adoption within organizations of agile has happened, especially because we have to interact more as a remote workforce. This also impacts the way we do portfolio management within our organizations. This digital transformation, or this move to the left, is still a theme in this diagram here as well. On the right, where we started with the decades-old portfolio management methods that we used in the past that pretty much used waterfall types of approaches to executing on projects and initiatives. As people aspire potentially to move maybe even all the way to the left and become more agile and do their portfolios in more scale agile or lean portfolio types of approaches, that journey takes time, years most of the time. And in that, they're going to travel through at least and what we call an adaptive, or what the analysts are calling an adaptive portfolio management stage, where they'll have a combination of mixed methodologies and mixed tools, both agile, waterfall, and some combination or hybrids of both. What we're finding, and as people aspire to start going left, is many of them are arriving at a place where the adaptive piece in the middle is where they're going to be ongoing, because they come to the realization that some of the types of work that they do are more conducive to more traditional waterfall, or some are conducive to agile. And the idea is that they're going to have to accommodate this thing as they go on through. The key is to be able to have solutions that are effective regardless where you are on this spectrum. So that's where we get to strategic portfolio management, because portfolio management is now being impacted by the trend or the proclivity of organizations to start embracing strategic portfolio management, or SPM as it's called. Now, we work a lot with the Gartner Group, and this analyst group keeps their finger on the pulse of where the market is going. And they define strategic portfolio management as a set of business capabilities, processes, and supporting portfolio management technology for clearly defining key business strategies and desired business outcomes. The idea is that we're now just not maintaining a portfolio of projects, but we're actually doing portfolio management to manage a portfolio of strategies and things related around those strategies to get business outcomes. And we'll talk about that a little more in detail. But SPM also connects not only these business strategies that we identify and the desired outcomes, it basically connects them to enterprise-wide execution activities, meaning projects and initiatives. So SPM is designed to ensure that we have enterprise-wide strategy to execution alignment, and we have the communication and governance around that, meaning that we are working on the right things and making sure that the things that we're investing in align with what we're trying to achieve strategically overall as an organization. Now, strategic portfolio management also should allow for an adaptation when strategies shift or evolve due to changing priorities or emerging business disruption. So we talked about that disruption factor. How can we be nimble enough in our portfolio management so that when these things occur, we can not only adjust tactically what we're doing in our execution, but our strategic focus may change, and we may have to adopt and realign those things in response to all that. So if we look at this from a top-down and bottom-up hierarchy, just one example here. At the top, senior leadership establishes higher-level strategies within the organization. And then these strategies really manifest themselves down into a strategic portfolio of the strategies that we're trying to realize. And in that, we may have tangible things that we're trying to achieve to say that we've actually achieved the outcome that strategy is set to realize. And that then gets broken down into the specific operational projects and other initiatives that we would do as an organization to support succeeding on those strategies. And that goes down to specific execution of projects and tasks and work efforts within those portfolios that should be directly contributing to the success of the operational portfolio, which then in turn contributes to the success of the strategic portfolio, and then realization of the strategy itself. And these strategies could be, short-term in their horizon, mid-term, long-term in their horizon. They could impact a variety of things in different portfolio types, as we talked about the difference between, traditional versus adaptive versus agile. And the key is that this applies no matter what mode you're in from an operational perspective. So current trends is that the PPM, or project portfolio management market, is evolving now to support the expanding technology needs of enterprise needs in digital business endeavors. Program and portfolio management leaders are increasingly establishing and adopting strategic portfolio management approaches and continuous delivery capabilities, really, which it aligns itself more with that delivering incrementally value all the time instead of big bang, longer term duration types of initiatives. And to do that and to provide that linkage and to provide that type of focus, they're increasingly investing in SPM technologies in order to help them manage that over time. Now, the Gartner Group says that by 2024, 50% of all program and portfolio management leaders will integrate complementary technologies to enable portfolio decision-making, strategic level and portfolio operational level, and adaptive work management, of all different types of work that support digital business transformation. That's a pretty good trend. They're saying 50% of all businesses will have adopted this kind of integrated type of approach. So the impacts of the business for the future is that it's driving, from a technology perspective, the separation of the PPM market offerings into two distinct technology solution types. There's strategic portfolio management, which is our focus today for this webinar, and what's called adaptive project management on the execution side. The Gartner Group projects that enterprises that do not adopt technology that supports strategic portfolio management will not be fully successful in digital business or in resolving business disruptions and the impacts of those, due to an inability to make informed and timely business decisions, not being nimble or agile enough at a portfolio level. So increasingly, business and IT leaders are adopting strategic portfolio management processes and acquiring technology or solutions that support that SPM. So the changes that are needed is that we really need to evaluate, as we're looking at the technologies we're using to manage portfolios, is we need to evaluate the most suitable technologies that support strategic portfolio management and adaptive portfolio management. Those of you that may have followed OnePlan solutions here for a while know that we have capabilities that address both of those dimensions. But it's not just the technology. Organizations to succeed at this need to adopt processes and a mindset and a culture that support these, right? And we need to align our strategies to portfolio management and execution to measure and achieve desired outcomes. It's not about just saying, hey, we did something, or we say we did this task. It really is about value and desired outcomes in this new world. Now, from a strategic portfolio management perspective, we're going to talk today about an objectives and key results approach, or OKRs as it's often called. And it's not new, but for many organizations, it is a revolutionary approach to goal setting and the ability to make tough choices in business. It's been around for a while. Back in the 70s, Intel had the IMBOs, or Intel's management by objectives type of approach, which was very similar in its nature, and at the core, the seeds of this type of OKR type of approach. And then in the early 2000s, Google really embedded OKRs in the company culture as a core way as which they manage their business. And today, this approach has really exploded and has been embraced in major organizations everywhere, increasingly over time. And I can attest to, when we talk to customers, maybe 10 years ago, we weren't getting asked to the degree we are today about OKR type of technology or strategic portfolio management the way we are today. So it really is happening out there. So what is an OKR? It's objectives and key results is a management methodology that helps ensure that a company focuses efforts on the same important issues throughout the organization. It's alignment and making sure we're all rowing in the same direction. So an objective is really defining what you want to do. What is the outcome that you want to have? And a key result is how you know you've achieved it. So for example, an objective, might be a strategy, like we want to improve our market share in an organization, or in the marketplace for our company. And what you might decide is, what are the tangible measures then, or the key results that would help indicate that we're making progress towards achieving that objective? So nominally, guidelines say that you should probably have roughly 3 key results, at least for each objective, to say these are tangible measures to say, are we making progress to achieving the overarching outcome or strategy that we want? And these key results should be measurable and should be easy to grade. Could it be a percentage, that our percentage of market share has gone up, or our retention on number of customers should be a hard number? Should it be a dollar outcome, or something that's measurable or easy to grade? And once again, it should be describing outcomes, not activities. It shouldn't be a check the box to say we actually did something. It's, did we achieve something, is really what the difference is there. Now, OKRs are designed so that they can happen at different levels in the organization. John Doerr, who probably wrote the definitive book on this approach called Measure What Matters, a quote from him says, "A healthy OKR environment strikes a balance between alignment and autonomy, common purpose and creative latitude." So the key is to create some alignment and some common structure or guardrails to where we want to go with this, but not strangle it such that we lose innovation and our creative latitude to take the organization further and be able to creatively address things and meet the needs of the marketplace and our competition. So at different levels, you might have an executive OKR, where this might be at the high level of what is our strategic focus as a business. Where is it that we want to be overall as an organization? Now, a departmental OKR might be from their lens. How can we contribute to that higher level company strategy? And what are some of the strategies or sub-strategies that we might have for objectives that are going to support that executive OKR? So OKRs could be more strategic in their level from an executive perspective, maybe more tactical, maybe from a departmental perspective, and even can drill these down to personal OKRs if you want to. I wouldn't say not everybody we deal with gets down to that level, but it could. You could actually have things that reside at more of a portfolio level or the program level, or product or feature level. The key is the structure should be flexible enough such that it could be the way you look at the world and how you structure the way you think your objectives should be measured and looked at. Now, another trend in the marketplace is the explosive growth of Microsoft Teams. It continues to be the most fast and largely adopted technology in Microsoft's history. It allows you to do all kinds of collaborative things: chats, meetings, calls, files, apps, workflows, enable projects and work. And today we're going to talk about enabling this whole strategic portfolio management concept right from within Microsoft Teams collectively as a group or as an organization. Now, OnePlan, we have pre-configured solutions that connect strategy to execution within the solution itself. And these are pre-configured solutions that are built for the Microsoft Cloud and are particularly able to be actuated and consumed right from within Microsoft Teams. Paul will be showing this to you today in action, but OnePlan itself is a Microsoft authorized Teams application that can be injected into your use of Teams at any given point in time. Now, the modules, yes, we have full portfolio and project management capabilities, whether they be from portfolio visibility and execution, resource capacity planning, financial planning, and all the execution things you would expect from more traditional waterfall plans, agile plans, or adaptive plans that are a combination of both, as well as consistent things like status reporting and getting feedback from your teams on things like updates and providing insights with a little bit of artificial intelligence to give you insights on the things that require your attention. So these are more traditional PPM type of capabilities that are in here. Our focus today is really to extend that and say, yes, you have all these portfolio management capabilities and project execution capabilities, but if you layer on top of that the ability to do strategic portfolio management with OKRs, not only can you manage that portfolio and execute on your strategies using this capability within Teams, and that's the objectives and key results that we're going to show you here today. We can also align within this system our operational things in our portfolio, our projects and initiatives, to those strategies and objectives and key results that are up in that portfolio. And the key is the ability to do that can be powerful to make sure we're working on the right things and making sure that we keep track of the things that are going to help support achieving those objectives and strategies overall. So the objectives, we're going to talk about building a strategic plan that could be tailored to your unique hierarchy, as we talked about that hierarchical nature that you might want to deploy in OKRs. The ability to provide key results with tangible metrics. The ability to provide easy ways to update that progress, whether it be things you manually enter in the system or potentially grab through integration with another solution that has those metrics or those data points for you to bring into the system. The ability to work within an agile fashion, to have more agile Kanban boards where you can have your objective key results and look at them and then even see things like dependencies or relationships that you might have between them. Reporting as a natural output of this in Power BI, right, and actuated through Teams. And that includes the key results and maybe looking at where we're actually strong on our achievements versus where we're lagging. The key is that this is built for the Microsoft Cloud. So if you are a Microsoft shop, this can be provided with you, and we're going to show you today as a fused user experience. Now, we're going to focus on Teams today, but the technology, just for your information only at this point, because Teams is going to be our focus today, is that this can be consumed either directly in a browser. It can be consumed in Microsoft's Power Apps, Power Platform, which is getting more increasingly adopted today. It can be consumed within Dynamics. It can be consumed within Azure DevOps for your Agile people. It can be consumed in SharePoint. And today our focus is going to be, because it's so prevalently used by people today, how you consume this right from within Microsoft Teams. So the key here is the idea to use the capabilities we're going to talk about today, but do it while staying working in the tools that you work in every day, not to have to go to some separate, distinct, different place to get this all done. So it's also extensible on the Microsoft Power Platform. So we're going to talk about reporting in Power BI. You know, workflow and business process automation can be handled via Power Automate and Power Apps, etc. The key is, for those of you that are looking at the Power Platform, and even though we're going to talk about Teams, a lot of the solution itself can be extended to the degree that you want it to be. And the integrations, we're not talking about building custom code here. We're talking about productized integrations and connectors that actually will connect data, for example, to bring, say, key result data or updates in from another solution, or financial data that you might want from your financial system, etc. And the key is just be aware that this is here as a productized set of connectors that can be brought to bear, as opposed to the old school of writing custom code to do one-off connectors that you have to maintain yourself. So the key here is we want to provide you with one interface, one user experience, and provide that to you via OnePlan. So OnePlan is the technology that's going to bring this all together, even though we're going to enable it and consume it from within Teams today. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Paul Estabrooks, who's going to show you these concepts live and in practice.
Thank you, Jim. As Jim said, I'm going to demo this today inside of our OnePlan, or sorry, inside of our Teams environment. Just let me switch to the one I actually want to use. There we go. I'm in Teams. I'm going to actually show you both today. I use them for different things. I'm in a PMO Teams channel, Team site with OnePlan running. And this particular environment has all of that adaptive capability that Jim was mentioning in his presentation lit up. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to jump to another one just for some reports a little bit later. So I'm on the home page. Here, I'm going to shrink Teams to give myself a little bit more room. I'm on this home page. You can see lots of different insights and things I might need to do as a user. Today, we're going to focus on strategy. So as I come into this strategy section, you can see here, I'm looking at a list of my objectives. I could add and create new objectives just by clicking here and creating a new one, or I could jump into one that I've already created. This one is an active objective that we're managing. So you can see here I can capture, and this is obviously configurable, but I can capture information about this particular objective, who owns it, what does it link to, what portfolios it might link to, and so forth, start, end dates, and so forth. I can capture all of that information here, And I can do this such that I might have, it's towards the end of the calendar year, so I might start my work on what's next year going to look like. So I might have a bunch of objectives that are proposed. They're the new ones we're thinking about as we plan our next cycle or our next fiscal year or whatever. Meanwhile, I have some active ones, and I might even have some ones we did in prior years that are now closed because we completed them, we met them. And so I have this ongoing list, and I can capture all this, and then I have my key results that are linked to this. And I'm going to show you that in a different pane here in just a minute. So very quickly, we can capture that objective and capture some information about it. Again, it's configurable for the information that your organization needs. Expand this a little bit further, you'll now see underneath each objective are those 3, 4 or so key results that we're measuring, that we're tracking so that we can achieve the objective. So I can look at any one of these. And I'll just jump into a couple here quickly. Again, proposed, active, or closed. And again, you can configure this to be what you need it to be. And some data about that. And then I might say, I've got a couple of approaches from here. One is I could treat this particular key result as its own sort of basket of work, its own specific tasks that I might want to manage. It could also be linked to a specific project in the portfolio. And we're going to spend some time on that in just a minute. It can be linked to another business system. Jim mentioned that from an integration point of view when I want to pull in status and how it's progressing. We see that every time we talk to customers. That's one of the things that they ask about is, can we track the success of achieving this key result using data from another system where we're tracking that specific information, whether that's year-over-year in-store, same-store sales, or some data related to carbon capture or some other environmental objective. There's all kinds of different pivots on that. And the answer is yes, we can. That's what OneConnect is there for. But this particular one, we're actually just going to manage it right here. So we got a simple little schedule that we've created. We've assigned some resources, and we can actually manage the work on this particular key result as its own sort of embedded schedule. There isn't a broader set of projects or initiatives that we're doing that in combination will yield or drive towards this key result. It's self-contained, and we can do that here. Likewise, we can actually do a status report on this particular key result. And you can see if I go in here, I can look at a past status report, and you can see that I have 9 of my customer case studies done out of a target of 20, and I'm on track back in August when I did this status report. We were still in good shape. So this particular key result can be managed as its own contained unit right here in Teams without any other sort of parts and pieces to it. I'm going to jump to one in a minute that's a little more complex or a little more built out. But when I do that, before I do that, I'm actually just going to jump over here to my work really quickly. And you will see here, if I look for it, there it is. This particular task right here is from that key result. So in my task list, along with everything else that I might be working on, is a specific task linked to a key result because we're treating that particular one as its own sort of lightweight project or its own little schedule. And it's appearing here for me to status it in addition to all the other things that I am working on. So full circle and full visibility into that. Back here to my list. Now, if I wanted to dive into one that's maybe a little bit deeper, I could have another particular one here. This one maybe is connected to some other things. And instead of having a work plan, it's actually linked to some other schedules. And that's sort of where I want to take this conversation. We talk a lot about linking our strategy to our execution. So if I jump down here to the portfolio, my portfolio projects, there we go. And I expand this, and I can see all my different projects. And if I jump into this one, support customers using mobile, and I look down here, that particular objective, or that key result, I should say, this is linked to a specific objective, improve customer excellence. And underneath that, it's linked to several of the key results. And I could add another one if I wanted to. So under customer excellence, they're the ones, we've already picked a couple of those. We could put a third one in to this mix as well. So I can link this particular project to this key result. The thought is this: I have my objectives. I'll know I'll have met those objectives by completing and achieving certain key results. And to get those results, I'm going to do something. And in some cases, the something is, as I just showed you a minute ago, a small sort of little project that I'm going to manage as is. And in other cases, it's actually one or a series of initiatives that we are executing with sizable budgets and investment. And I want to know, how do those projects link back to specific key results? Because it's the completion of that project work and likely the measurement of the benefits thereafter that will tell me the key result has been met, and thus I can say the objective has also been met. What we've added into our solution fairly recently is this ability not only to list which key results we're linked to, but to actually divvy up how much each of those is impacted by this project. And so when I set this up, it's 2 of those key results, 2 of the 4 related to improve customer excellence as an objective. This project's going to touch those 2. And we've made a decision that it's a 70-30 split. So now we could look at this later in reporting and whatnot and say, well, what was the investment we made in increasing customer retention to 98%? Well, it was a series of projects potentially, and it was 70% of this one that counts against that key result. So we have that linkage all the way through that we can work with. If I add another item, obviously I need to rebalance these numbers, and I could have divvied it up across 3 or maybe even all 4 objectives that are underneath, results that are underneath that objective. So we have that ability here to align it both at the objective and at the key result level, but in this particular configuration at the key result level, we have the ability to split the budget accordingly so that we're not sort of tied to it's a all or nothing or a double count. It's actually aligned correctly. Before I jump to reporting, I want to show one more thing. When I'm in my portfolio, I can start to look at things like, well, I want to know underneath my objectives, let's go back to that customer excellence objective, what are all of the projects that we are doing that are in some way linked to that specific objective? So just like that, I have filtered this particular list, and I can now see how I am, all the work that we're doing that is related to the improved customer excellence objective, or customer experience, I should say. So very quickly, I have that filtering and grouping and sorting in here as well. A couple things I want to show in conclusion, and I missed this, so I just want to jump back to it. Jim showed this earlier, and I'll sort of spend a bit of time on it. This is the list view, and if I expand this as I did, you can see all of that. But we also have board views, and Jim mentioned this. So this particular board view, I really like this. The columns are the different objectives, and underneath that are those different key results. And you can see here, improve customer excellence, that's the one that we've sort of been picking on, and there are the 4 things. What we can also see are some dependencies being the strings between some of these different customer key results, and some of them span different objectives. You can also see we've color status, you have a status color on each card showing which key results potentially we're not in very good shape on. You can see the one that I'm sort of hovered on right now, it's red, meaning we're not where we want to be as we progress through this planning period in order to say we're going to achieve that. So it's in jeopardy, and we may want to dig into that. And I'm going to go to that in just a minute in some reporting we have in another instance that I want to dive into. But a different type of view. So now I can go from the list to the roadmap or the board. I can also go to a roadmap view and show this in different ways. But here, columns are my objectives. The strings show the relationship, and the color coding quickly draws my attention to those particular key results that are in jeopardy of not being achieved. And now what are we going to do about it? I want to jump over to that other environment just quickly. It has some reporting I want to use. So as Jim mentioned, we leverage the Power Platform. So I wanted to show this particular instance has a whole bunch of reports specific to these OKRs. So I have my overall objective portfolio. I have an objective summary. I can look at a specific one and how it's progressing. Some status information, you can see where we are there. But if I jump all the way to the end here, so key results progress, and you can see some of those ones that were marked red, it's all the same data. So very quickly I can draw my attention to 2 of them we haven't even started. That may be okay, but we should look into that. A couple of others are red, and then sort of gradients all the way up to those which we've achieved one and we're 100%. So I have rich reporting that I can draw against this data within this environment. So here I'm looking at my key results progress and all the portfolio and the objective data as well, that I can drill into and mine this information to make sure that we are putting our investments and our efforts where we need to achieve the things that we're trying to accomplish, and highlight which ones maybe are behind, and do we need to sort of revector some effort across the organization to ensure that we get done on all of these as we progress through the year. And Jim, I'm going to leave it there in terms of the demo.
All right, thanks, Paul. I really appreciate the walkthrough. Hopefully for you folks that this illustrated live some of the concepts that we talked about in the slide presentation portion of this webinar. So now I'd like to summarize and talk about some potential next steps you can take if you're interested in what you saw here today. So in summary, strategic portfolio management, coined as SPM, is really a critical success factor for today's digital businesses. Strategic portfolio management should be aligned to adaptive project management to achieve your desired outcomes, because you have to execute on the things that you strive to do. OKRs define what you want to do and then measure if you are achieving them, as Paul showed you. And then OnePlan provides a pre-configured strategic portfolio management solution for the Microsoft Cloud and enables collaborative SPM right within Microsoft Teams, as Paul demonstrated to you here today. OnePlan also facilitates, as Paul showed, the alignment with the projects and the initiatives that you have within your organization to make sure that we have that alignment and also understand if the things that we're doing to support our strategies are actually being successfully delivered. And there's flexible configuration, and it can easily address varied use cases. We showed you a strict objective and key result type of simple hierarchy today, but we've used it with many other customers to build their organizational hierarchies or the way their decision-making hierarchies are, so that portfolio for strategic purposes is configurable to the ways that you actually do business and the way you see the world, as I say. And it does provide you a modern user experience, not only with Teams, but the OnePlan application is really using modern technology that keeps it simple for you to stay on top of all this. And if it's simple and modern, tends to be adoption and usage tends to go up, which means you have compliance and more complete information. We do webinars like this all the time. We're shifting gears a little bit here in the next couple. You may have already received an email notification on this, but on the 21st, we're going to talk about professional services automation, what's coined as PSA, and how that can be done using OnePlan within Microsoft Dynamics. And on the 28th, we're doing one for folks that might have their CRM, say, in a Salesforce rather than Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Still a Microsoft technology for us, but connecting out and leveraging the use of Salesforce as that kind of customer-facing type of CRM technology. If you want to get started, if you like what you saw here today, we have a number of trial opportunities for you available for you out of Microsoft's AppSource. The OnePlan Adaptive Project Portfolio Management template that we have out there is the more fully functional one out there that has all the things that from project execution and strategy in there. So strategy is in there if you want to look at it in the context of doing it with your projects. But we do have specific use cases where if you might want to just use this for just the strategic portfolio management, or you're more focused on agile portfolio management, or as we're going to demo next week, more on the PSA or professional services automation pieces, we can focus on that as well as just simple collaborative project and work management in Teams. Now, if you're interested on what it might take to get you from point A to point B where you're at today, we do offer a free roadmap workshop to help you kind of visualize what it would take. We can talk to you about your current use of tools and solutions, what your current requirements and desired future state might be. And then we can kind of walk you through and talk you through about how to implement or migrate a new solution, or what the implementation roadmap might look like and what's all entailed, as well as, what it might cost. You may already own some of the licensing required to do the things that we talked to you today about. So it may only be an incremental investment on your part. So free trial, free roadmap workshop. But if you're not that far down the road on your journey and investigation of something like this, we're happy to schedule a personalized one-on-one demo with you. Obviously, we gave you a very generalized, high-level demonstration today. But if you have specific needs that you want to address and talk about your requirements and see a demonstration in the context of those, we're happy to schedule something more personalized and one-on-one with you. just reach out to contact@oneplan.ai and make your request there, and we're happy to connect with you. Also, you're going to get a copy of these slides, so you'll have this. Either myself or Paul would be happy to talk to you individually as well, if you don't want to go to just the general contact us line. We really do want to engage with you. We really love working with our customers, and our tagline is we are invested in success, and that means your success. So we really do sincerely would like to engage with you and help you get the outcomes that you are seeking. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time today and hope to speak with you all and engage with you all a little bit more in the future. Have a great day.